Good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm Reshu Singh, Department of English, Bhavan's Mumbai Devi Adarsh Sanskrit Mahavidyalay, Mumbai. The topic of my presentation is Shanti Parv, a saga of the ultimate truth. These are the outlines of my presentation. The paper attempts to find, establish, and identify some critical aspects of ultimate truth as depicted in Shanti Parv of Mahabharat. As you know, it's a 12th Parv out of 18 Parv. There are 365 chapters and three sub-Parvas, Rajadharm, Anushasan, Apaddharma Parv, and Mokshadharma. It renders numerous accounts of social, philosophical, chronological evolution and revolution of mankind and civilization. This book unfolds the ultimate truths, the four ends, purushas of life, dharma, arth, kam, moksha. It enlightens the path of human intellect, religion, and salvation through the discourse between Yuddhishthir and Bhism, and various characters are there that destroys the darkness of ignorance. The book opens up the scene after the historic war, where Yudhishthir is in very deep glooming mental state and completely shattered, though even after achieving victory, he was not holding peace anywhere. He blamed himself because of the greed of the throne. This tragedy happened. He decided to give up the throne for which he killed his own people, the latest preceptors. Thus he became morally conscious and was in dilemma. Rajadharma was a great burden for him. Bhishm was a prominent symbol of truthfulness. He, throughout his life, served Hastinapur, his nation, as his mother. He devoted himself to it and practicing a vow for not rule but to serve the king of it. Bhishm gave priority to his dharma. Now, after the end of the battle, from the bed of arrows, Bhishm preached Yuddhishthir, who is in dilemma about governance, duties, righteousness, and truthfulness. Bhishm responds to the Yudhishthir's dilemma, presenting the example of practice of Rajdharma. How motherhood from day one changes the life of a woman and her desires, personal likings, and dislikings. She devotes herself to the care of the embryo, the baby in her womb. In the similar way, kingdom is for its king, where the king, leaving his personal benefits, always performs for the welfare for the people of his nation, for the whatever is possible, he does to achieve this goal. He also explains about Dandiniti, which is the path, lightning treaties for a king in performing his duties. Bhishma takes more efforts to assure that that he only followed his dharma and that was the obligation of the welfare of society. Rajadharma is for protection of the nation. No subject will be secure if it is not followed by the king. There will be anarchy in the society. Further, Yudhishthir inquired, what will happen when our own people would turn into traitors? Bhishma replies, for this situation, some tactics, secret kind of dharma are there to be followed. That is called Apaddharma. A king ought to follow all possible tactics to protect the nation. In Mahabharat, all the elders and stakeholders become blind when injustice was done to the Pandavas when Kauravas attempt killing them with poison by burning, possessing their kingdom. So the fraud in a dice board game, molesting Draupadi in the hall, refusal of accepting the peace treaty became the reason of the war for not leaving other way to get justice. How one can ignore the justice of killing the Prince Abhimanyu. He also suggests in time of hardship, adharma may acquire the characteristics of dharma. In this context, Ramdhari Singh Dinkar magnificently has written in his poem Kurukshetra, which can be considered as a response to the Yudhishthir dilemma. रुग्ण होना चाहता कोई नहीं रोग लेकिन आ गया जब पास हो तिक्त औषधि के सिवा उपचार क्या। शमित होगा वह सिवा वह नहीं मिष्ठान से। है मृषा तेरे हृदय की जल्पना, युद्ध करना पूर्णया दुष्पाप है। क्योंकि कोई कर्म है ऐसा नहीं जो स्वयं ही पूर्ण हो या पाप हो। Like this, Apaddharma is declared valid to be employed when some trap is designed against the king, kingship, and the kingdom. As per Dharmashastra, the four ends of life are dharma, earth, and calm and moksha. Any disobeying individual of dharma must be denied from the earth and calm. In this context, I would like to highlight here dharma denotes the idea. Here, dharma denotes the idea of satya, truth, ahimsa, non-violence, austere, non-stealing of property created by another, saucham, purity, and dhamma, restraint. The fruit of righteousness is happiness, and happiness is ultimate truth. Following the right path and acting on the principle of goodness transports one towards the peace and happiness. The Parv profoundly explains the ways of living the social, political, spiritual, and cultural ideas of society to achieve moksha. Through many ancient stories, Bhishm comes to the conclusion that dharma and sacrifice of worldly desires leads to get rid of past sorrows, deeds. Thus, it becomes the only path to achieve salvation. Yuddhishthir inquires about the truth. Very curiously, Bhishm replies and says it exists everywhere. There shouldn't be any confusion with those that are good. Truth is always duty. He adds truth is duty, truth is penance, truth is yoga, and truth is the eternal Brahman. He shares 13 types of truths. The forms that truth assumes are impartiality, self control, forgiveness, modesty, endurance, goodness, renunciation, complementation, dignity, fortitude, compassion, and abstention from injury, which are unchangeable. He suggests the way to inquire truthfulness through yoga. There is no duty which is higher than truth, and no sin more heinous than untruth. Indeed, truth is the very foundation of righteousness. For this reason, one should never destroy truth. There are various frameworks in Indian concept of truth which are based on this Parv, such as mentioned in Mimamsa, theory of Nyaya, and theory of two truths in Buddhism. The prominent concept of truth, as told by Mahatma Gandhi, is directly or indirectly adapted from this Parv. I would like to quote words from his writers. The word Satya, truth, is derived from Sat, which means being. Nothing is or exists in reality except truth. That is why Sat or truth is perhaps the most important name of God. In fact, it is more correct to say that truth is God than to say God is truth. On deeper thinking, however, it will be realized that Sat or Satya is the only correct and fully signed fact name for God. According to Taittiriya Upanishad, I would like to conclude शास्त्रानुसारेण प्रतिपादितः सिद्धांत एव सत्यम अस्ति. I hope you got the meaning. I'm concluding in my words. It can be said that Shanti Parv is about dharma, performing all ends of life is the ultimate truth, which is clear in the discourse presented in this Parv. Yudhishthir's realization of righteousness, his priority, and the giving up of his own pain, the form of worldly desire, are to enlighten the path of salvation, which is itself is truth. As I would like to recall, as Professor Kapil Kapoor sir also said, this Parv is the most important source of values-based knowledge and gives courage for the human life. It teaches how to be a virtuous person in a life to live a balanced life. One also learns to balance between the public interest and personal interest for the law of karma. Mahabharat is indisputably a commanding and influential work which renders to serve the nation that persists till the time. The idea of Bhagavad Gita, selfless work or Nishkam Seva, is re-highlighted in this book in the context of Dharma, Earth, Kam, Moksha. Thank you.